All right, well, let's go ahead and get started. So my name's Nick. That's Vanessa back there in the corner. You can probably introduce yourself in the second half if you want. We'll do that then. So just telling you a little bit about myself and Connect Marketing. So I founded Connect Marketing about 4 years ago, and then Vanessa joined me about a year later, so we're co-founders of the business. Connect Marketing in particular specializes in doing marketing for real estate agents, and the thing that we're really good at is targeting specific neighborhoods and making a real estate agent really popular in those neighborhoods. We call it being local famous. So a lot of the things that we do for realtors, though, apply to plenty of all their small businesses. A lot of small businesses should be focusing like that with their marketing. So that's a little bit about our business. My background, I'm from St. Louis originally. I went to SLU High, then I went to WashU, so I've been kind of living in that same South City, St. Louis area for a long time. I studied entrepreneurship. I've started 2 businesses at this point, 3 if you count the hostel that I run out of my house on Airbnb, 3 different rooms that we rent out all at the same time, so that's pretty crazy and fun. And then I started a business called Case Coolie about 6 years ago, which is a product I invented. It's a sleeve that keeps a case of beer cold for 10 hours without any ice, so kind of like a koozie for a whole case of beer. And then I started Connect Marketing about 4 years ago, so that's a little bit of my background. So what I want to talk to you about today, since you're focusing on kind of building out your business plan and doing your marketing research, are all of the different social media platforms out there. And in particular, I want to focus on kind of which ones should you be using. Did you have a question? Yeah.
This is a quick question. Are we going to be able to get your slides?
Yeah, we can send a copy of the slides out as well. Yep, and we'll give you a way to get in touch with us at the very end that's kind of cool. So I'll save that for a little surprise at the end, all right? So yeah, we will share these. So there's a lot of different social platforms out there. These are not even all of them. There's a whole nother category that I would consider more of chat type of apps, so like WhatsApp, things like that. We're not really getting into that today, but those are out there as well. But we are going to try to cover most of these today. So what I'm hoping to get through is to basically help you understand who is on that network. So is your audience on that platform? And then what kind of businesses should be on that platform, and try to get a little bit into what kinds of things should you be posting or talking about if you're using social media. So before I start here, I want to tell you a little bit about my story when I first started my first business. I made the mistake of trying to get on all of these platforms. This was even 6 years ago. There was even more social media startups back then. A lot of them have kind of faded out at this point. But I went out with Case Coolie and I tried to get on Facebook and then Instagram, and I had a Google Plus profile, and we had a Pinterest, and I even had a LinkedIn page, which didn't really make sense because it was consumer product and LinkedIn's all B2B. And the point is, I didn't do a good job on any of those platforms. So when you're first getting started, don't worry so much about trying to be everywhere. Hopefully this presentation is going to help you target a little bit better and be a little bit more specific about which network you're going to be a part of. Because if you do all of them at once, it's way too much to learn, and you end up doing essentially nothing. So I had like 2 posts that I ever put up on Instagram. That's not very good. I'd post on Facebook like once a week, and it just wasn't going anywhere. So I want you to kind of come out with this with probably just 1 network you're going to start with, maybe 2, because there is one that I recommend everyone use. So you might try 2, but I don't want you to look at this and think that you need to go set up an account on all of these networks. All right. So out of all the images up here, which of these is the biggest? Does anybody know? Facebook, right? Facebook basically rules the world at this point. So quick show of hands, how many of you have a profile on Facebook? All right, so almost everyone. Not everybody is on Facebook yet, but it's getting pretty close. So we want to look at the monthly users for these platforms here. And as you can see, Facebook is more than twice as big as the next closest one. And interestingly enough, they also own the second biggest platform, which is Instagram, right? So Facebook has become very dominant. They also own WhatsApp, which is, I think, the biggest or second biggest chat app in the world. And then they have Messenger, which is their Facebook Messenger, which they split out as its own separate app, and that's also one of the biggest apps in the world. So Facebook is very dominant here. It's almost impossible to get on social media and use social media and not be using Facebook in some way. So we will talk a lot about Facebook. Next is Instagram. Instagram is growing very quickly. They've continued to grow very quickly. They have in a lot of ways kind of beaten out Snapchat when it comes to growth. They stole Snapchat's story feature, and basically they kind of stunted Snapchat in that process. Then you have Twitter and Pinterest, which are similar in size. Snapchat, which is a little smaller, mostly millennials. LinkedIn, which is a really powerful B2B network, and then Reddit, which is maybe not quite a social site, although it is very social. It's more of a news stream kind of a website, but there's a lot of useful things you can do there that we'll talk about. So moving on to Facebook. So Facebook is the place to start, and this is the network or the platform where I'd recommend everyone have a profile. So there are two types of profiles on Facebook, and those are your personal profile and then your business page. So what we're talking about, what we're focused on today is your business page. So the first number here is 2 billion monthly active users. That means that basically a third of the entire world gets on Facebook at least once a month. Do you have a question?
Can you have a business page without having a personal page?
Yeah, good question. So you cannot have a business page without a personal page, right? So I get that question a lot. If you are reluctant, if you're one of the few people that's not on Facebook and you don't really want to have a personal page because you don't want to have everybody, post some pictures of their kids and you don't want to get involved in that, you can set up a personal profile and just not really use it. So you can set it up. You could even, you're supposed to use your real name, but you could probably put a fake name if you wanted to. You could probably get away with that. But you can set one up and then just not friend request people so you don't have to mess with it. But you do need the personal profile to set up a business page. Now, some people will ask about the other way around. Why not just use my personal profile for business? And there are a bunch of reasons. Number one is going to be it's against the rules. So if you do too much of that, and you can get away with quite a bit, but if you do too much, Facebook can shut down your personal profile, right? So there have been people in the past who have gotten really aggressive and spammy, and they're sending messages to all their friends, and they're trying to sell something, and Facebook shut them down. So try not to use your personal profile too much for business. You can do a little bit. It's not that big a deal. But you want to have a business profile for that first reason. The second reason is going to be you cannot run ads on Facebook without a business page. So to get access to the ad platform, you do need to have the business page. So to do any sort of advertising, make sure you have a business account. And then you can also get a lot of data. So we're talking about doing our marketing analysis right now. So one of the things that's really cool on Facebook is they have all this information on all of us. On the one hand, from a consumer standpoint, it's very scary. Facebook knows everything you ever do, basically, that has to do with your digital presence. But on an advertising side or for a business owner, that can be very useful because we can learn a lot about our audience. We can look at who's actually engaging with us, et cetera. So if you have a business page, you're going to have access to those audience insights. You're going to be able to learn a lot about the people that are following your page and liking your posts and that kind of stuff. So you definitely want to have the business profile. So a couple other stats about Facebook. 75% of the users spend 20 minutes or more on Facebook every day. So if you think about it, that's pretty incredible. I mean, Facebook is getting to the point where it's becoming similar to the way we used to look at TV. So it used to be that the average American spent like 2 hours a day watching television. Those numbers probably haven't gone down that much. We still watch a lot of TV. But we're starting to shift some of that attention to Facebook, and Facebook knows that that's where the attention is coming from. So they're starting to make their own TV shows. So has anybody seen that yet? So there are like episodes on Facebook. It's a pretty new feature, so you will start to see that soon. Facebook's really trying to get us to spend more time watching video on their platform. So video is one of the big things you can do there. So if you're going to go ahead and set up your page and get started, one of the first things I would try to learn how to do is to make video content with your cell phone. So you don't need to worry about hiring a videographer. It doesn't have to be super fancy, but video is one of the main things people are going to be interacting with, and that is the biggest push for the next few years Facebook's going to be doing. So their goal within 2-3 years of now is to have people spending more like an hour a day on Facebook and have 40 plus of those minutes be watching video content, because that means they can start to sell more of those traditional TV commercials. And that's what they want to do. They want to take the $80 billion TV advertising industry and pull it over into Facebook. That's one of their goals.
So they're kind of following the Yahoo model.
Sort of, yeah. Yahoo didn't execute it very well, obviously, because Yahoo's doesn't hardly exist anymore, right? But they are trying to do that, right? So yeah, Yahoo.
Oh, I meant YouTube.
YouTube, yes. So and actually Yahoo did try to do it too. Like they pulled Katie Couric over, and they had a whole like morning show with Katie Couric at some point that nobody watched. So, but yes, YouTube. So it's basically Facebook and YouTube. Those are big competitors right now. And actually, I heard the other day that YouTube has become a bigger search engine than Google itself, even. So it used to be it was Google, and then YouTube was the second biggest search engine in the world. Now it's actually even bigger because people spend so much time on YouTube watching videos. So it's all about video right now. you know, you probably have heard that Facebook's trying to get into virtual reality, but we're still probably 5 to 10 years away from that's the point where that really takes off. So it's going to continue to be video. So there is a lot of competition, but we're still early enough in the game that if you're making good video content, you can put it out there and you're going to get a lot of attention with that content. So just one little quick tip, you may notice that I put a little phone with a little camera back there, and I'm wearing a little lapel mic. So we're recording this today. This is the kind of thing that makes really good content to put on Facebook. So what we do is we record ourselves anytime we speak. We cut it up into little 1-minute segments that are really dense and really helpful and useful to people. And they put that on Facebook and we promote it to our target audience, which is typically real estate agents, right? So think of it that way. You don't need to be really creative and come up with the craziest, coolest video ever. You just want to document what you're currently doing. So honestly, even things like if you're having a meeting with a potential customer and you're talking about your business, just set up your phone and turn your camera on a little tripod and record it. And then you can go back and look through it and find, hey, I said something there that was really smart. I want to cut that out and I want to put it on Facebook. So that's a big shift we're seeing. Some of the smartest people in this space, like have you ever heard of Gary Vaynerchuk? He's a big advertising guy, big digital guy. That's what he does. He actually has someone follow him around with a video camera all day. So it's like a reality TV show. They just follow him around all day. And then they cut that up and he gets about 20, 30 minutes of content every day as a result of just recording all his meetings. So that's an easy way to get started with video content without having to overthink it, right?
How do you spell his last name?
Vaynerchuk, let's see, Vaynerchuk. If you search Gary V, he usually comes up on Google because his last name is confusing. Did you have your hand up? Yeah.
Yes. Do you encounter any issues regarding privacy or authorization in terms of recording when you request permission or?
Depending on the context, like if it's a client meeting or something like that, then you probably just want to ask that they're okay with it, right? So if somebody's going to be actively in the video, you do need to probably ask their permission. If it's just in public, if it's one of those things where they're aware there's a camera on and they know that if they wanted to, they could get out of the shot or leave, that's actually okay. You don't necessarily need to get every person that walks through the background to sign something. But yeah, if you're interviewing a customer, because there's going to maybe be some private information there, what I usually do is if anybody's going to be actively in one of my videos, I'll just ask them like, is it cool if we do this? And then before I ever post it, I'll send you a copy and you have like first right of refusal. So if I send it to you and you're like, oh man, my hair was crazy, I don't want you to post that, then I won't put it up, right? Just to be kind of respectful to them. The truth is, there's so many cameras out there now. The legality behind some of these things is very quickly shifting. I mean, you think about like Snapchat made the glasses with a little camera in them, and you never know when people are recording you. So just be respectful, and you shouldn't really have any problems. Another hand was up, yeah.
I was actually just going to add in on that. Actually, Missouri State Communications Law is only one-party recording state. So if you're doing it for personal use, like to follow yourself and you want to understand or get snippets for yourself and things to help promote yourself, you don't actually have to ask permission because only one person needs to know you're recording, and if you're recording, that's yourself.
Yeah.
But if you go into a place like California, that's where you actually have to get permission, or otherwise
Sure.
you can go into legality. So every state is different. So it could be different online because it's crossing states.
Good point. Thank you.
I think that also applies if you post it somewhere where it's going to go out of state, because I work for a TV station part-time, and our broadcast stuff goes across state lines. It's on
Sure.
the internet, it goes international. We have to have releases for everyone.
Okay.
So that's something to think about too.
So keep that in mind if you're advertising to people that aren't in the St. Louis area. Another question? Yep.
Yes, I wanted to go back to the Facebook business page.
Uh-huh.
So when you're on your business page and you want, you have your personal page, but you want traffic to come to your business page, and you see different articles and things like that that relates to your business. How can you get what you're online looking at to be posted to your business page and not to your personal page?
So the business page posting, and what we'll do today, since I think we have a little more time for our section than we planned on, we'll have like a Q&A at the end where we can maybe do some more kind of examples of stuff. But just to answer it real quickly, posting on your business page works the same way as you would post on your personal page. So you just go to the business page, there's a spot at the top where you can click into and write a post. And then you just copy the link for whatever article you wanted to, right? Or if you see something you want to share and you hit the share button on it, one of the options is to share it to a page. And that way you can share it directly to your business page.
having some issues where things that I see online, and I want it to come to my business page, but it will go to my personal page.
Oh, okay, yeah. So there might just maybe have to check a different setting when you post it. Yeah, we can try to maybe show that at the end if you'd like. Yep. So I don't want to spend too much more time on Facebook. The main point here is that Facebook has almost everyone. If you look at some of the stats, these are statistics for internet users. So over 75% of both men and women who use the internet are on Facebook. So that's why I do recommend this for almost any business. There's really very few businesses that should not have a Facebook page of some kind. So that's the first one. So Facebook's kind of for everyone. So now I want to go into more of the niche ones. Yeah.
Sorry, I'm just wondering that 90-minute you had on that one.
Uh-huh.
Post time and also the video thing. You said YouTube, but what about Vimeo and some of those other video source, whatever you call them?
Well, so any of those platforms, you can utilize. I mean, those are good places to maybe store video. But the truth is, if you want to get the most engagement with your Facebook video, you should upload it directly to Facebook. So Facebook, just like YouTube now, can host the video, and it will play automatically as people scroll past it if it's hosted on Facebook. So I do see that a lot where small businesses will post to Vimeo or YouTube, and then they'll share that link on Facebook, and you're actually significantly reducing the number of people that will watch it, because now they have to click on it and take it to another website, right? So that's just a good overall general tip, is whatever you can do to get people to stay on the platform that they're currently on, that's going to help you, right? And Facebook is always adding new tools to help you do that, to help keep people on Facebook. Yep.
How much money do you recommend to spend in advertising?
It's really all over the place. I mean, the nice thing about Facebook ads is you can start low. You can start at a couple dollars a day and kind of test things out and kind of see what works. But there's companies that spend hundreds of millions of dollars on Facebook ads. So it's really all over the place. There's not really a good kind of rule of thumb in terms of how much you spend, but I would start with somewhere maybe around $5 a day to kind of test some ideas, and then you can grow it from there. So the nice thing, and we're not really talking too much about the ad platform today, but one of the nice things about Facebook ads is that they give you lots of information, and it also automatically learns. So they have an algorithm that's learning as it shows your ads. So it's looking at, hey, who clicked on this ad? Oh, it's this kind of person. I'm going to show it to more of that kind of person, right? So start with a few bucks and kind of see what works, test a few different ads, and then you can turn off the ones that don't work and put the rest of the money into the ones that do. Yeah. Yep.
How is having an ad specifically versus boosting a post? How is that different, and what is that?
Basically, boosting a post is a very, very limited version of the advertising platform. So once you have access or know how to use Facebook ads, I would never boost a post again. For most small businesses, I recommend just not boosting posts. The way I look at boosting is Facebook's way of just getting more small businesses to waste money on their ads. No offense, they can be used properly, but it's one of those things where if you're only boosting, you're probably not well enough aware of all the things you can do on Facebook. So I would stay away from boosting, other than if you have something really cool, you posted a little video or photo that's doing really well and people are excited about it, you want to put 20 bucks into it to show it to some extra people, that's okay. Just keep in mind that you're not really being strategic when you do that. So you want to get into the ads manager as soon as you can, right? All right, so if we have a lot more questions, let's try to maybe keep a few to the end, just so we can try to get through all these, because I have about 7 or 8 of these platforms. So next one is Instagram. So does anybody, I heard one of the businesses here is a toy business, right? So do you guys have an Instagram profile yet? All right, so that's one I'd recommend for you. Anybody else that has a very visual type of business? So you sell products or homes maybe, if you're a real estate agent, stuff like that. We've got a few here, okay? So that's what I really recommend on Instagram. Instagram is very visual. It's almost entirely about pictures and video. And the videos are limited to 1 minute in length, so they're not very lengthy videos. You also want to keep in mind that most things on Instagram are in the square format, right? So they're not wide, they're not tall, they generally are square picture or video. So make sure you're thinking about that when you do it. Now, in terms of who is on Instagram, it's a lot of younger people. So it's a lot of millennials. 90% of the users are under 35. So if that's your target market, then you definitely want to be on Instagram. People on Instagram are pretty engaged. They do spend a fair amount of time being on Instagram and viewing everything, especially from their friends. You're going to have not quite as many people as on Facebook, though. So if you have an audience that tends to skew older, if you're looking for people that are above the age of 35, I would probably not invest in Instagram with your time. So Instagram is for mostly younger people. Businesses where photographs of your product are going to be really powerful, I would definitely recommend getting on Instagram. It's also still the fastest growing of all these networks, so that's another thing to keep in mind. Twitter. So Twitter is an interesting one. Twitter, kind of got to where it got because it was very unique, and it's a very kind of live, interactive tool where you can find out about things that are happening on the other side of the world, like right now. So especially during big news events, that's when Twitter is strongest, is when there's a natural disaster or an exciting, soccer win or something, and people are tweeting about what's going on. Outside of that, it's extremely noisy. So we tagged it as kind of the most oversaturated network. And the reality is, if you're on Twitter and you follow a lot of profiles, you probably know what I mean, which is that there's just a ton of tweets all the time, a lot of garbage, right? Twitter has a big problem with bots, which means there's a lot of accounts out there that aren't actually real people. They're just accounts that are there to retweet things and be promotional and be kind of obnoxious. And you probably heard the news about Russian bots and things like that during our election. So Twitter has a big problem there. Where I will say it is very useful is reaching out to people directly, right? So you can tweet at people, you can send them messages, you can start conversations. So if you're at a very early stage in your business and you're looking for maybe feedback on an idea or some advice from another business owner, Twitter can be very useful there. It's very good for customer service because, again, it is almost instantaneous. You can get a hold of people really quickly and have a really quick conversation. On the other hand, it's also very visible. So if you don't respond to someone that tweets at your business, if you're on Twitter and you give it too much time and they start complaining and posting, it can get out of hand very quickly. So what that means is that Twitter's very good if you want to be able to interact directly with some people that might be your ideal audience, that people that are very active on the platform, but you have to also be very active. So if it's something where you have a lot of stuff going on in your life and you don't have time to check Twitter very often, then I would probably just stay away from it. You can see here that users also don't spend a ton of time on the app every day. So compared to Facebook or Instagram, they're not on there nearly as much. And so that's another reason that the oversaturation is even worse because it's just so noisy. They're only on there for a couple days. It's not a very good place to advertise in my experience. So I probably wouldn't spend any money on the ads. So that's Twitter. So in most cases, I would say for most small business getting started, probably don't invest a lot of time in Twitter unless you really want to have that access to tweet directly at people and start some conversations there.
So would you not even just, because we were recommended to get a Twitter account with the name of his product. Mm-hmm. But if we have it, then people might try to.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of, it's funny in marketing because anything under the sun will at some point be recommended to you and they'll be completely contradictory, right? So, and the truth is it does depend on the business, but yeah, you do want to keep in mind there are reasons to claim your profile just so that someone else can't claim it, right? If you have a competitor that might mess with you or something. But once you set up an account, people expect to be able to talk to you there, right? So if they find it, and even if it's not really doing much and it's not active, they could still tweet at it and try to get a hold of you that way, right? So if you do want to have the account just to have it saved and kind of taken care of, just make sure you turn the notifications on your phone for receiving tweets. You can set the settings up so if anybody tweets at you, you'll get a notice about it. Because you just don't want to have somebody trying to communicate with you there and not be ready to respond to them, right? Yep.
Sometimes some Twitter accounts you can set it up so that if they click on the tweet, they go to your website.
Sure.
And that would be probably a better, that would kind of centralize your communications.
Yeah, and you can certainly link all that stuff to your site and try to get people to do that, but you always have to remember on a platform, you got to treat people the way that they expect the platform to work, right? So if they're expecting to be able to tweet at you, because a lot of big companies do a lot of their customer service through Twitter. So it is a really strong customer service tool. Like you can imagine airlines get bombarded on Twitter constantly with people complaining about things. So the bigger airlines have really responsive teams that will handle things, very quickly on Twitter. So it is true, you can link out. There are things you can do. You can put a little notice in your profile saying, hey, if you need something, come to our Facebook page. but not everybody's going to read that. They might just pull up your name and tweet at you. So just keep that in mind. You just want to be respectful of how people are used to using the platform as well. Okay, so this one, Pinterest. Pinterest is, in my mind, a very exciting platform if you sell products in particular. So Pinterest is actually, of all the social media platforms, probably the strongest at selling products. People spend more time on Pinterest with a buying intent than on any other website, right? If you think about Facebook, obviously they're there to read news, see their friends' posts. You know, they'll probably watch your ads, but they're not necessarily there to buy something. More times on Pinterest, people will be there looking for ideas of products or projects they can do that involve products that you could sell them, right? So there's over 300 million monthly users. As you can see, it skews heavily towards women. So if you're selling to women, this would be a great place to get involved. One of the other nice things about Pinterest is that kind of half-life we talked about earlier, which basically how many people are going to see what point in time have half of the people seen your post. It's very long for Pinterest. I mean, you can put up a pin on Pinterest that 6 months from now starts to get popular, right? Because of the way it's laid out and the way people search on there. It's not so much a news feed type of thing. It's more of an intent. People are actually searching for things on there and trying to come up with interesting things to do or try. So that's one thing that's exciting about Pinterest. If you're going to do Pinterest, I mean, you, again, want to think about how people are using it. So don't be entirely promotional. Just because they're looking for products doesn't mean always post about your product, but create interesting pins that are related to what you do, right? So if you sell, if you sell toys, you might want to create a pin about, craft projects that kids could do, right? Because then they're going to attract the kind of people that might also want the toys. So you want to keep that in mind. But again, this is great for businesses that are looking to get in front of women in particular. All right, so Snapchat. Snapchat's kind of one of the big, exciting ones of the past few years. Obviously, they went public recently. They have been struggling, though, so that's kind of the bummer here, is that they have almost stopped growing entirely. They are still growing slightly. The CEO of Snapchat is not apparently all that worried about that, because he says he's focused on growing the revenue per user. And there is some fairness to that, because the people that use Snapchat really like Snapchat. So does anybody here have kids that are on Snapchat all the time? Are you on Snapchat all the time? All right, fair enough. Yeah, perfect example, right? So Snapchat is very popular amongst people, especially kind of in that millennial age range. So especially 20-year-olds. There's a lot of 20-year-olds and teenagers that are on Snapchat. So in terms of using it for your business, there's one feature that small businesses have access to advertising-wise, and that is these geo filters. So you can actually take a map and you can kind of draw a circle around a specific area, and then you create a filter that people can apply to their Snapchat photos that will only be available in that area. So I haven't used it much. I think it's one of those things where if you're not a big Snapchat user, you probably don't mess around with it. But it is really neat because of how you can target. You can actually target specifically down to a building. So like if we wanted to, if this was a presentation all about Snapchat, I could have drawn a circle around this building or even this room, and only the people here would have access to that filter on Snapchat. So what's cool in my mind about that is that it's one of the few targeting features of any ad platform that you can get kind of that targeted. So if you have, you want to have a special feature, a special filter that only shows up if someone's in your store, you can do things like that. Or if you want to do a special filter for just people that live in the neighborhood near your store, you can do things like that as well. So that's kind of cool. If you're going to use it just to have a business profile, you do want to keep in mind you only get 15 seconds to record video. What's good about that in my mind is it makes people be very quick, very to the point, right? So if you're going to make a video, it's only 15 seconds, you got to get your point across right away. And the reality is that's a good habit to develop for any of these platforms. So I was talking to some real estate agents the other night, and they were, what can we do better on Facebook? And one of my examples was, well, if you do Facebook Live, a lot of times people will do a Facebook Live video, especially a realtor, and the first 15 seconds, the first 30 seconds are them like setting up their camera still, or them kind of standing outside of a house. And there's not really anything to pull people's attention in. You always have to remember the first 3 seconds of any video are the most important. That's when you're going to give people information to tell them whether or not they should stick around and watch the rest of it. So if you use Snapchat, in my mind, it's a really good practice for other platforms because you're forced to do things in 15 seconds. You don't have time to mess around, and that is a good habit to develop for the other networks. Outside of that, it's hard to really recommend that you spend a lot of time on here as a business. I would look at it more as a personal tool, more as kind of a training opportunity, so to speak, but they don't really have, business profiles set up yet. They're not really catering too much to small businesses yet. But it is great for millennials. So if for some reason your business is all about millennials, then I would definitely recommend Snapchat and Instagram are kind of the two big millennial platforms at the moment. All right, so next is LinkedIn. So is anybody a business-to-business company selling to other businesses? Okay, we do have a few. All right, so we'll spend a little bit of time on LinkedIn. One of the things that happened recently with LinkedIn is that Microsoft actually acquired them. So they are now a Microsoft company, and they have been making a lot of updates and changes. So LinkedIn is doing a lot of things kind of differently in the past 6 months. I've noticed that just within, I think, the past few months, they are now allowing video content on there. And just simply posting videos, I get more engagement on LinkedIn than I do on Facebook. So I have more people liking my posts and stuff like that on LinkedIn than Facebook. It's also a little bit easier to connect with people. So since it is specifically a business platform, there's not limits on how many people you can connect with. You can reach out to as many as you want. I think if you do too many in a row, they'll flag you for a second. But you can reach out to almost anyone. And then if you give them a good reason to connect with you, because you can send them a message when you request that connection, a lot of people will accept your connection. So I think I have another 400 or 500 connections on LinkedIn that I don't have on Facebook. So I actually have a bigger network there. And it's also easy to grow. So if you are B2B, LinkedIn is definitely the place to be because you can sell to other business owners there. One of the kind of tips for LinkedIn would be to create a group or to be involved in groups on LinkedIn that have to do with your industry. So LinkedIn has all kinds of groups. People like joining groups on there. This does apply to Facebook. Facebook has groups as well, but I think they're even more powerful on LinkedIn. And what you're going to want to do is start out by joining the existing groups that are in your industry and participate. That's a rule of thumb on any of these platforms is be involved. Don't just sit there and watch things other people are posting. Actually try to share or even just comment on their posts. Liking things is okay. It's a good start, but it doesn't really get you much attention. So I'd really recommend, commenting is the next step, and then sharing content is even better. And then if you get to the point where you're making your own content, that's the best. Yep.
If you're not a business-to-business company, would you still recommend being on LinkedIn to have just your overall business presence and join trade groups or whatever?
So if you're not B2B, I would not start there, right? Because back to my initial point, which is if you do too many things, you won't do any of them well. But once you're comfortable, so if you start with, what kind of business are you starting?
Software.
Software, okay. Is it for consumers, I guess, though? Or
Mobile app.
Mobile app, okay. So for that kind of stuff, if it's a mobile app, obviously being on the other apps like Instagram, Facebook would probably be a good starting place. But yeah, in the longer term, you're right. I think any business in the end should be on LinkedIn, just because that's where you can talk to investors, you can talk to the industry groups, that kind of stuff. But I wouldn't do too much at first, right? So I would probably save that for 6 months or a year down the road. But it is good for that. So if you're looking to connect with other people in your industry, LinkedIn can also be good.
So,
Yep.
So like if, like for us, we want to advertise to the kids,
Yeah.
and then their grandparents, but who we sell to are the toy stores.
Okay.
So would that be business to business? Would that be a business to business?
Possibly. I mean, toy stores, I think they're going to be very active on places like Instagram and Facebook themselves. So you might just want to interact with them there. But yeah, I mean, LinkedIn is one where it's like, hey, once your business is kind of growing and up and running and you have a couple employees and you're not the one in charge of all this stuff anymore, it's a great place to network, right? So from a networking standpoint, from a growth, hey, I want to go find some more, executives that run the Toys R Us type of businesses out there. That's what's cool about LinkedIn. Like you can literally just request a connection to all the CEOs in the whole country if you want to. So it can be very useful there. But in terms of getting started on social media, it's more kind of a higher level for that kind of stuff.
Thank you.
Yep. All right, Reddit. So Reddit is a little bit different, and I wanted to make sure we talked about Reddit today. So Reddit is, they call it, I think, the front page of the internet. So the idea is that Reddit has always been kind of the news feed of the internet, even kind of before Facebook kind of became that. So a couple stats on Reddit. It's not nearly as big. So there's 85 million monthly users. 64% are under 30 years old. And a lot of them are male. So it's a pretty predominantly male and younger male, and actually probably white male to be honest, website. The cool thing about Reddit is that it's a very, very strong community. If you're a person that participates on Reddit regularly, you're very involved in it. And there's even kind of a language to Reddit, a lot of words and abbreviations that you don't really see on other platforms. And what is really cool about it is that if you do it right, you can get a lot of help from the people on Reddit, right? So they have that sense of community. If they feel like you're part of that community, they will help you out. They will give you feedback. They will give you advice, all that kind of stuff, at a much higher rate than you would see on Facebook. So the key here, though, is that you cannot simply just jump on Reddit and post something for the very first time and not participate, because they really don't like that, right? Especially if you're going to be salesy. So there are all these stories of companies that have gone on Reddit and tried to post something promotional and then just like basically had their entire brand destroyed because all the people went out and said bad things about them. So keep that in mind. Don't just go on Reddit and say, hey, I got a 50% off coupon or something. They're not really going to like that. So the way you want to start with Reddit, and what's interesting about Reddit is they have what's called subreddits. So a subreddit is a page. It's call it kind of a chat room, so to speak, on Reddit that's about a specific topic. So that's where this becomes really powerful. Whatever niche you're in, so you're doing a mobile app, they may even have an even smaller subreddit for specific kinds of mobile apps. There are going to be subreddits about your industry, and you want to get on there and get involved. So the first thing you're going to want to do, and this does take a little bit of patience, but I would spend the first 2 to 3 weeks just participating. So on Reddit, there is a rating system where you can upvote or downvote posts. And the more your stuff gets upvoted, the more points you gather. And you don't want to have 0 points when you first post about something. You want to have several points because you've commented and been involved. So what you want to do is you want to comment on things. You want to share other articles. So if you've had a couple comments, you're engaging with people on that subreddit. Then start sharing things. And then you can start to be a little bit more selfish and you can start to ask for feedback, right? So the next step would be if you have a survey, and Vanessa's going to talk later about a couple tools you can use to create free surveys and where to put those. But on Reddit, that can be a really good thing because they will give you very good feedback, very honest feedback. It's not uncommon for them to, for dozens of people to respond to a survey, even if the survey is 20 or 30 questions, it's a little bit longer. So I've always found Reddit to be the best place to ask for information or feedback from people. So that's really nice. Now, once you've done all of that, if you get good feedback and people are saying, hey, it sounds like what you're doing here sounds pretty interesting, then you have permission to post. And it can work both ways. So I mentioned earlier, they can go out and destroy your brand if you're too selfish. They can also go out and promote the heck out of your brand if you're not selfish, right? So I actually had, there was one day like a year ago that I had over 1,000 people come to my website that day. And we usually get it was 10 visitors just for my case schooling business. So basically I had 100 times as many visits in one day. That was because of an article I posted on Reddit. And the way I posted it was basically, hey, I wrote this blog post. Can you give me some feedback? What do you think about it? So over 1,000 people came to it, checked it out, started sharing it with their friends because they thought it was interesting. But a big reason it worked is because that wasn't the first thing I did on that Reddit subreddit, right? So that's one cool thing about Reddit. And then we had one little bonus in here as well, which is NextDoor. Is anybody on NextDoor? Okay, cool. So we do have some users. So I don't know what the user stats are on NextDoor. They're certainly newer. But the way NextDoor works is it's sort of like Facebook for your neighborhood. So you have to register your address, and you actually have to confirm it. They send you a piece of mail to confirm that you live there. Once you've done that, you're then registered in that neighborhood as a neighbor. And you can communicate with everybody in your neighborhood as well as all the surrounding neighborhoods. So what's unique about it is you can't go out and post across town. There's really no way to do that on NextDoor. But it also means that people feel a little bit safer and they like to recommend businesses on NextDoor. So that's where this is really powerful, is that even compared to Facebook, which there's a lot of recommendations happening on Facebook. What's cool about NextDoor is you know that if you ask for a recommendation, it's coming from people that live near you and that they're recommending a business from the area, right? So it feels a little bit more like a referral, and it can be an easy way to generate some business. So I would definitely check out NextDoor. Do we have a hand back there?
Do you know how many, like, how big the radius or how small the radius is for that?
For the neighborhoods, they vary a lot. So the way a neighborhood works on NextDoor is they have to be founded by certain people. So I think you have to have like 10 people sign up to officially launch a neighborhood. So they're not even all up and running yet. So you can be kind of a founding member, which is cool. But a lot of it is going to be is kind of based on existing neighborhood boundaries. So I live in the city where the neighborhoods are all pretty big. So like the Hill is its own neighborhood, even though there's several thousand people there. And I live in an area called Southwest Gardens. If you get out into the county, you might have more of a subdivision, so like 500 homes, so they can be a little smaller out there, right?
Other neighborhoods, or you guys just staying around?
You can if they're near yours, right? So it varies a lot. I don't know like the exact rules, but basically if you're in this neighborhood, like there's a radius around it, just call it 3 to 5 miles probably, where you can also, you can't directly post in those neighborhoods, but you can say whatever I post can be shown in those neighborhoods, and then people can choose whether or not they want to see that stuff, right? So it's nice in terms of like, yeah, you can get in front of 10,000 people on there, and you don't have to have, that's what's cool about it. You don't have to go out and friend all those people or get them to like your page, right? So NextDoor is still in the earlier stages. They're still kind of figuring things out, but if you can get, even if your business or you are not on NextDoor, where it's really powerful is get your clients to recommend you on there, right? So that's one thing I would try to do is ask all the people that are using your services or your business, are they on NextDoor, and can they post a recommendation for you? You had your hand up?
Yeah, so is it basically just an Angie's List by geographic location?
Not really. I mean, it's a social network first, right? So Angie's List was primarily just business recommendations, right? Yeah, I mean, in referrals. So it's a social network first. You get a lot of the whole like, I found a lost dog. It's a lot of like lost dogs, suspicious guy in the alleyway kind of posts. So a lot of it's kind of silly nonsense, to be honest. But the recommendations from a business standpoint are the big opportunity on there.
I'm a member in my area, and I'll see things like, I need a plumber, or I need an electrician. People actually asking for referrals for specific things. And that's kind of part of the daily chatter, but yes, you do see a lot of lost dog, or you see, what were the sirens, what were the fireworks?
Sure, yep.
I also see some of the local politicians posting town meeting about whatever.
Yeah, they do have a feature that they added where public information can be shared by public officials. So that is kind of cool too. You can see your local alderman or something like that posting, and that's the only place I ever see those kinds of things. So they do a good job of that. So I do expect kind of big things from NextDoor in the long term. They're worth over $1 billion now, so they must be doing something right. And they're one of the few social networks to survive kind of the Facebook, age, so to speak. So they had a unique spin on things. So I'm going to do 2 more slides and hand it over to Vanessa. I want to get through this real quick here. So I already kind of mentioned this. This is a big first step, is just making sure you have your business page set up. And what you see over here on the right is kind of an example of those audience insights. So you don't have to have a ton of likes on your business page to get access to this information, but the more likes you have, the stronger that information becomes. So if you have a business page and you have at least, let's say 400 or 500 likes on there, and that might be a year from now, but whenever it is, you can start to see things like, relationship status, education level. One thing that's really exciting that you can look at in here is actually what other pages or what other interests do the people who like your business have, and you can use that to advertise to them, right? So you only have 300 likes on your page, but you go, oh, well, they actually really like this famous person at a high level, for some reason the people are very interested in them as well. I'm going to advertise to that audience, right? So that's where you want to make sure you have your business page set up. So the last point on here, which is important to keep in mind, is one other thing that's good about having a business profile separated from your personal is that you can still post your personal beliefs and your political opinions on your personal profile, and don't post them on your business page, right? So that's one area that I've seen a lot of people really get in trouble, is they use their personal profile for business, and they invite, oh, let's connect on Facebook, and then they start posting political opinions, and it's like, well, these are people you want to do business with. You don't want to be, mixing those personal ideas with your business. So that's the nice thing about having the business page. You can keep those things separate. And then in terms of how to be involved on these platforms, number one is just be natural. I think a lot of people spend a lot of time trying to come up with, witty, interesting things to post. And the reality is for a small business in particular, you in a lot of ways are your business. I mean, your personality, your interests, your passions are very much evidence in your business. So, you don't have to get out there and try to be something fake or something different. I would just try to post about things that you find interesting. Now, again, as I said, that doesn't mean political or religious stuff, kind of use your basic common sense here. But, if you're really into, like in my case, into soccer, when the U.S. soccer team, fell apart recently and didn't make the World Cup, and that was a pretty big bummer, like that's the kind of stuff that's okay to post about, because my followers, my friends, the ones that are into soccer are also going to respond. I'm like, yeah, what a bummer, that's a real disappointment. And again, it's a negative thing, it's a sad thing, but it shows that you're a real person, right? So that kind of stuff is fine. You want to be, a little bit vulnerable and share things on there. And just try to keep in mind, you do want to talk about your business sometimes, but not all the time. So do not post everything just about what you do. So my example of that would be a lot of real estate agents. They only ever post about real estate. Oh, look at this picture of this cool kitchen. Oh, it's a nice yard. Oh, here's a home for sale. If I'm not looking to buy or sell a house right now, I don't need to see that stuff, and it's going to get old, and I'm going to stop looking at the posts on that page. So just mix it up, right? So that's where I would say put some of that personal stuff in there. Give somebody some advice on home remodeling, or talk about some local events that are going on. It doesn't have to be fancy. And the other thing is, you can test things and see how they do. So that's why a business page is so nice. You can look at what did people engage with and post more of that stuff, right? One of the easiest things you can honestly do, which is pretty cool, is just promote your fellow business owners, right? So on your page, if you talk about other businesses and how cool they are, or if you maybe interview another business owner on camera, people often like that stuff, especially if you're focused on a specific area. If you're in Kirkwood and all your customers are in Kirkwood, and you go interview the owner of the local bakery that just opened, and you get a couple shots of their place, like that's going to do very well. People are going to find that interesting. So just make sure you're thinking about who you're talking to. And then the next thing I would say is that a few years ago, social media was very much, question? Yeah.
Well, I can wait till you finish.
Okay. A few years ago, social media was very much just about sharing sharing stuff from other websites, articles, things like that. It still is to an extent, but I would focus more on your own content now. So it's gotten much easier with your phone to record video. It's not hard to write a blog post, those kind of things. So it doesn't have to be everything you post, but make sure you're doing something original, that you have some sort of your own content you're sharing with people. And the beauty of it is it doesn't have to be fancy. So, I don't think we can play this video, but I made a little video. I have a couple lights I set up in a room in our office, and I got a piece of paper as a backdrop. It costs a couple $100. That's even way behind what you need to do, right? So just use some common sense. Make sure if you're going to do a video, try to have the light shining towards your face, not down or from behind, right? Just like if you're taking a picture. Another really, really simple thing you can do is get a lapel microphone and either plug it directly into the phone while you're recording, or plug it into a second phone and record the sounds separately and put them together. Good lighting and good sound go a long way when it comes to video. So you don't have to spend a bunch on equipment. You don't have to have everything scripted and be perfect, but if it looks a little bit nicer because the lighting is right, and you have a mic, this is like a $10 microphone. It's really cheap, right? So it's definitely worth getting. That's going to go a long way. So just a couple small tips on the video side. But yeah, the big thing is, show your personality, have some fun with it, and try to have some original content that's not just other people's stuff. What was your question?
So my question was when you said building trust and relationships and things like that, not always promoting your business to sell, but just using different methods of advertising. Can you do that with creating maybe like small 5 to 10 minute, or even maybe like no more than 12 minute podcasts? Or how would that work?
Yeah, podcasts are actually the fastest growing medium out of anything right now. So one of the things that we'll probably see in the next few years is that video will be saturated. There's already a lot of people making video, and there's only going to continue being more. And if you think about it, video, you have to have your full attention, right? A podcast, you don't. So you can be doing things like driving your car, working on other stuff, and still listen to a podcast. So we just started our own podcast like a week ago, right? Because it's really one of the fastest growing mediums. So, but to really answer your question, which is anything, like literally anything you want to do, that's the most important part, is that you want to do it, right? So if you think, oh, I want to try this slight variation, or I want to do something completely different, like that's what matters, because then you'll do it, right? A lot of what you'll see is that you spend too much time thinking about it and planning and worrying and trying to do things that somebody told you to do, but you don't really feel like it, when you could have just made a podcast and it would have been fine. Just do whatever is easiest, right? Because it's all about getting the ball rolling. Once it's up and running, it's much easier. And if you've done, a couple podcasts and you've had some fun there, well, then it might be easy to make a video. In fact, just record yourself while you're podcasting, or record the person you're interviewing while you're podcasting, and that might be a decent video. You never know. And if it isn't, you just throw the video out, right? Okay, so that's my section. I'm going to hand it over to Vanessa. Do we have any last questions before I step away? Yep.
How easy is it to bring something in from your phone or your iPad to, I have Final Cut Pro.
Mm-hmm. Just plug in the USB or the FireWire or whatever it is for Apple, and you're good to go. Yeah, I mean, we do everything on our phones, so usually very simple.
And Apple will show you how to do it. You go down there.
Yeah, if you take it into the.
They got experts and all that kind of thing.
I go to Mac.
Voice now.
Okay, just go readjust the camera. All right, hi everyone. I am Vanessa, and I'm really excited to talk to you guys. How are you guys doing right now? Good. Okay, last half an hour of the presentation, I'm going to talk about market analysis and how you can use surveys and social media jointly to learn about your customers. All right, I think you have the clicker here. Okay, so the first thing I want to talk about is we've been talking about all day why you need to do market research, but what kinds of things can you do on social media through surveys to learn about your business? So to give you an example, I'll be talking about Nick's business that he's mentioned before, Case Coolie. So this is a product he invented years back. It's a case, a sleeve really, that fits around a case of drinks like beer and keeps it cold for 10 hours without ice. So it's pretty cool. But his question when he first started the business was, what type of people are going to want this product? He had already invented it for college students specifically to go tailgate at games like Mizzou football games and other types of events. But there's so many other opportunities out there to sell specific types of products, or if you're selling a service, you need to really know who your audience is. So some of the questions we have were, would this product, Case Coolie, appeal to other types of audiences like golfers? Could they bring that on the golf course and store their drinks in that while they were out there with their friends? NASCAR sports fans, we heard from some people that they might want to bring it into stadiums down there, or whatever you call the arenas in the South and go to these NASCAR events. And then also boating, could Case Coolies be used on a boat? And would that function the same way as it would at a tailgate? So the best way to find out that kind of information is to actually survey people who do all these different things, and they may not all be the same people. So that's where you can go onto social media, find groups of people that actually fit in these categories, and ask them these questions. So how many of you have conducted a survey before to learn a little bit about your business? And yeah, raise the hands if you, okay. Great. When you're surveying your target demographic, is of course very important to start with making a very good survey with specific questions so you can get all types of results. Again, you can ask people about how interested they are in your product or service, ask them about the price levels that you're thinking about your product or service, whether that would fit their needs, how they would use it in their daily life, and that can influence basically how you will advertise to them. And then finally, just be really clear about what you're trying to do with your product, and see if they can give you any other feedback. It's always great to just have open-ended questions that'll allow people to really get some information to you that you might have not even thought about before. So I'll be talking a little bit today about how to create a survey using some free platforms, specifically Google, and then we'll get into how to disseminate that survey, whether you're posting it organically on social media. You can also run ads to people in your target audience. Nick touched on that when he talked about Facebook and other social media platforms. You can put a little bit of money into ads and actually show your survey to a really wide audience and get even more responses that way. You can also attach some type of giveaway or credit to your survey. So you can send it out over social media and ask people to fill out your survey in order to enter a giveaway for a $25 gift certificate or a $100 gift certificate or prize to something that is related to their interests. And that's a way to get really good responses. I put a maybe by it though, because in some cases, when you're trying to get a survey filled out by people, if you give them an incentive to do that, you might get a different group of people to fill out that survey, and they might have some biased answers. So I would be a little careful about that if you're trying to give them a really big prize and a lot of people who aren't even in your target demographic want to fill it out just so they can enter your giveaway for a car. I mean, that would be pretty crazy, but that's an idea of something that you would want to stay away from, because now you'll have people filling it out who aren't actually in your target demographic and don't have the useful information for you. And then lastly, we're talking all today about social media, but don't forget about email. That's another great way to send out your survey to a lot of people. So I'm not sure how many of you have a large email list yet, but even if you have 50, 100 people on your email list, feel free to send it out to them through email and gather responses that way. Okay, and then the last thing we'll be talking about is how to also collect and analyze the results of your survey once all of this is done. So, the tool I wanted to talk to you guys about today is Google Forms. How many of you are familiar with Google Forms already, if I can have a raise of hands? Okay, so just a couple people in here, and that's why I wanted to introduce Google Forms to you, because it's a really great survey tool and it's also free. So that's really amazing for small businesses. Some great things about Google Forms is that it's very easy to customize and share with people. It's a very intuitive program because it's Google and they make things very well for their user base. So you can customize it with your colors, customize all your questions with just a click of a button. We're actually going to do a demo to take you through how to create a Google form and create different types of questions, whether it's multiple choice questions, simple yes or no, all types of different even open response questions. And you can also share it very easily. You can get a link once you've created your Google form to share out on social media or through email. You can also get the HTML code if any of you are familiar with some programming or coding, or if you have a website designer that's helping you with that. You can get a piece of code and then actually embed it directly on your website or on a landing page and bring people to that page. Now you're driving traffic to your website and getting people to fill out your survey there too. So we'll go through some of that through the demo. And then finally, some of the last advantages of Google Forms is that it's really easy to analyze your data once you have people fill out your survey in Google Forms. They create for you custom graphs and pie charts, all types of different reports, and we'll go through that in a moment. And you can also download all the entries that you collect through your survey into an actual CSV file. So for instance, if you are collecting contact information, let's say you are going back to Nick's project Case Schoolie, let's say you're posting the survey on Facebook to a group on Facebook that has a lot of golfers in it, and people are really interested in the Case Schoolie, and you ask them, hey, if you want a discount code, 30% off your first order of a Case Schoolie, type in your email address on our survey at the very bottom. Once you download that file, you can easily upload that list of emails to your CRM, to your database, and then send them that code out to them very easily. So is all this making sense so far? Okay, great. So let's get into the actual demo of Google Forms, and I'm going to switch over here for that. Okay, so the first thing you'll need to do in order to use Google Forms is have a Gmail account. So create a Google account, and then you have access to this free tool. Gmail is also free, so it's a very easy step to take, whether you have accounts on other platforms like Yahoo or AOL. It's definitely very useful to have a Google account. Another great reason to have a Google account is it allows you to also create a Google business page for your business, very important for small businesses, review other businesses on Google, and also ask people to review your business on Google. So if we have time later after I'm done with this demo, we might talk more about that too. But collecting reviews is a big thing. It's definitely very advantageous to create a Google account, a Gmail account, to do all these different things. All right, so once you are over in your Google account, so I'll just navigate back over to Google to show you how you get to Google Forms, first of all.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
This Google account that you're creating is for your business.
It can be, well, it's usually your personal account. You can create a Gmail account for your business. So for instance, what's the name of your business?
Legacy Woodworks LLC.
Okay, so let's say that name hasn't already been taken, Legacy Forworks, you said?
Legacy Woodworks.
With Woodworks, okay.
Use just the product, which is versatile.
Okay, great. So you could do Legacy Woodworks LLC at gmail.com, and that can be a business account. You can even pay to actually have a Gmail account that has a slightly different configuration. So for instance, our emails are a Gmail account, but mine is Vanessa at connect-stl.com. So I had it customized for our website. And you just pay Google an extra, $2 a month to have a custom extension, even though it's still a Gmail account. It's a custom domain. Okay, so once you have your Gmail account, whether it's a personal or business account, you go up here and you click this little icon that allows you to, the square with 9 different squares within it, that allows you to access all the different Google apps. And sometimes you'll see Google Forms in here. This is how you access your Gmail account, your calendar, Drive. I usually have to always click the More button, and that takes us down to seeing Google Forms, which is this one right here, the little purple page. Okay, great. So now we're over in the section to create Google Forms, and it's actually, again, really intuitive to use. So you can create a blank form and start from scratch. They also have templates for you. So if you need event feedback, that's something we did recently for a real estate marketing event. We wanted to get information about when would the real estate agents in St. Louis actually be able to come to an event, and what would they like to see there. So for instance, I'm going to go over to that for a second. We, through the survey, asked them how likely would they be to attend an event. They could rate it anywhere from 1 to 5 in terms of not likely to attend or very likely to attend. Also, what time of day would they like to come to an event, whether breakfast events would work better or dinner events. Getting all that type of information is really helpful before you plan an event and find out that no one can come to it. And then what days of the week, what topics they would like to hear about, all different types of questions. And at the end, again, it's always great to even collect contact information from people if they're willing to do so. I wouldn't always say that you want to require people to give contact information in order to fill out your survey, because you will get fewer results that way. People are obviously very private and don't always want to give out their contact information. So asking them to fill out a survey anonymously, but then giving them the opportunity to attach their name, email, or phone number to it at the end will result in you getting information, but more survey responses. Okay, so going back to the actual Google Forms, we are going to create a blank Google form to start with, but like I said, you can choose from all these other templates they have, whether it's a job application, assessment, events, order forms. They have so many different templates to choose from, and those have questions already within them that you can also modify. But this is what a blank Google form looks like. And again, it's fully customizable, so you can enter the title for your form. Let's start by choosing a business in here. So I was talking with Janice earlier about your resale accessory store. Janice, would you mind if we use that as an example in the Google Forms?
Go right ahead.
All right, let's do it. So let's say, Janice, that you want to survey people about a few different things, like where should your store be located, whether it should be a physical store versus an online store, what type of accessories you actually should feature in that store based on what women and men in the community actually want to see. That's what we'll create a quick survey on, and we'll just go through a couple questions how to create them so you can see the different options you have through Google Forms. So Janice, first of all, what's the name of your company? Bejeweled, right. Okay. So let's, like that? All right, great. So we'll just do Bejeweled product survey. You can really name it whatever you want to. And then and then even type out a form description. So I am asking friends to provide some suggestions, etc. As you start your business. So send it out to your friends and find out from people what kind of accessories they're looking for in the community here. So let's go through a couple ways you can create some questions. The first being, would people like to see would people like to shop online or in a physical store? Okay. Great. Okay. And here, once you've typed in your main question, you're going to have the option to choose from different question formats. So you have everything from multiple choice, check boxes, drop down, short answer, paragraphs, all types of different things. So for this question, let's go ahead and do a drop down. And the first option is going to be, they're going to choose between two options, physical store and online, so that you get a really clear answer of how many people would like to shop in a physical store location in St. Louis and how many people would rather buy these accessories online. Great. Okay, so once you have your drop-down question set up, you can even change other settings on it. So for instance, is this going to be a required question? If it's a really important question you want everyone to figure out, you just toggle this right here and you can make it required. You can also add further description. So if you think people are going to be confused about the question and you need to elaborate a little bit, you can add a description underneath your question and have a little bit longer summary of what you're asking them for. So we won't go ahead and do that for this one, but that gives you an idea of exactly how to create a really easy question. So then let's ask another question here. All you have to do is press this little plus sign, and that's going to immediately populate a new field for you to create a brand new question for your survey. So here we'll ask, what type of accessories are you most interested in purchasing? And for this one, I really like to use the check boxes because you can get multiple answers. Some people are going to want to purchase jewelry and just jewelry. Others might want to purchase jewelry, shoes, ties, all types of different types of products from Janice's store. So we want to see what are the most popular types of accessories that people would want to purchase from her store. So let's start with jewelry. Oh. Okay, shoes. What are some other options, Janice? Purses. Sorry? Hats, of course, hats. Okay. And you can even be more specific. Should we say baseball hats versus, other types of, hats for women or whatever it needs to be. So we'll just choose a few options here. Ties, and then once you have these questions set up, you can add as many as you want. And I also like to add other, because that gives people the option to type in things that, again, you might not have thought about when you're creating the survey. And again, always remember, you can make it a required question, you can add a description, you can even do other really great things. One of the things I didn't mention before is you can even duplicate your questions. So if you have very similar questions, and instead of setting up each one with checkboxes, you might want to duplicate a question, and that allows you to start at a place that's a little bit easier. So now you can just go ahead and modify this question with all the checkboxes. And if you find that your question isn't making sense or you need to delete it, that's also easy enough to do. Okay. The last type of question I'll show you guys how to make is a linear scale question, because I think that's a really interesting one in terms of gauging people's interest level. So how about, how likely are you to shop at a resale store, and we'll be really specific here, located in Kirkwood, in the Kirkwood area. So let's say Janice was thinking about a specific area, and she wanted to just ask people how likely they are to shop there. We can use a linear scale, and then also add labels for the linear scale. So let's say we'll make it a linear scale of from 1 to 10, with 1 being not interested at all. Too many words. All right. And 10 being very interested. Now people can choose an option between 1 to 10, and we will get the survey responses for that. So let's go ahead. We just have a few questions in here, but we'll go ahead, since we're running out of time, and just show you what this is going to look like. Up here on your form, you can choose all types of different things to customize it. So you can change the background of your form. You can add a picture. So if you had an actual picture you wanted to upload into the background, you can choose that. They even have some cool pictures that Google allows you to use. So you can scroll through these, and that one looks kind of pretty. So why don't we put that up? Google's going to now customize your form. It'll look a lot nicer that way. And then you just want to make sure to experiment with a few things up here, especially settings. That's something that I sometimes forget to change, and then people can't fill out your form. So for instance, since I'm signed into my Google account, the Google has already put this requirement in. They've restricted the survey to only be able to be filled out by users of Connect Home Solutions. Our company, Connect Marketing, our official name is Connect Home Solutions, LLC. So if I left this box checked, the only people who would be able to fill out the survey is Nick or I, because we have access to Connect Home Solutions Gmail account. So I have to uncheck that button, and you can modify these settings here in order to make sure that you can anyone can submit your form. And you can require other things. Yep?
I'm sorry, the collect email addresses, what's that thing?
That would require them to...
Underneath it, the response receipt, what is that? So you would respond to people that you...
Yes, and they receive a copy of their responses. So basically, they would have to sign in to their account in order to even fill out the survey and provide their email address. And once they do that and fill out the survey and submit, they would get an email receipt of those responses too.
Okay, can only Gmail users sign into this then, if you check that?
I've honestly never used that, because anything that would bar someone from filling out a survey, I'm completely against doing. So I'm not actually sure, but I would assume that it allows you to collect email addresses for anyone who fills out the survey, and then they would just email it to whatever email address they put on file. Yep. That would be pretty limiting for Google to only allow Gmail users to fill out the survey. They try to make this very accessible to everyone. So again, you can limit the number of responses. You can allow people to edit the survey after submitting it. So you want to go ahead and save your survey, and then, save that. And then the next thing you want to do is just preview it always before you end up sending it out. So we're going to go ahead and preview the survey here. It's a really simple one. I didn't fill out a lot of things yet, but it'll allow you to look at all the different questions you have in there and do they make sense. So people choosing from a drop-down menu, filling out check boxes on your different questions, even the linear scale question here. You can see everything and make sure it's configured well before you end up sending it out. And then you can always go back and edit it in case you did something wrong. Yeah.
What was the curly thing? I know you did handle settings, but right before handle settings, when you put the design up there, what was that?
The design, the color palette?
Color palette.
Yes. So you just click on color palette up here, and you can choose colors, just a base color for your design, or you can click on the picture icon. You can upload your own photo if you have a custom picture you want to put on your survey, or you can choose from the different themes they have available too.
Thank you.
Great. And then last, if
you put in where you're asking for their email address, you have to manually collect them then. Like is that a short answer? Is that the type of question?
Yes, that would be a short answer question to manually collect it, unless, of course, you did the setting where you required people to also fill out their email addresses. That would be another way to get it. Yep, exactly. And then lastly, to actually send out the survey, just click send over here, and you have a lot of different options to send out your survey. So you can, for instance, email it to people right here by typing in their email addresses. You can get a shareable link, and all you have to do is copy this, paste it into Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, wherever you're trying to post your survey. You can also, like I mentioned before, get the actual HTML and embed it into your website. So these are all great forms to actually disseminate that survey. And then really quick, once you have your survey responses, I'm going to go back to our survey we sent out a couple weeks ago before we created this event. Once you have survey responses, Google is going to organize it really nicely for you in all types of bar graphs and pie charts to tell you. So for instance, how likely would they be to attend a monthly event on our real estate marketing topics? We got a lot of people who said 3s, 4s, and 5s. So they were pretty interested in that. What time of day? We found out that a breakfast event was actually the best time of day for real estate agents to come down to our office. What topics would they want to see at that training? So whether you have a product or service, you can ask all types of questions and get multiple answers from people on what types of topics they were interested in or what types of features for your service they're most interested in. That's a great way to do it. And then finally, collecting their contact information below. Okay. So it looks like we're out of time almost. I want to make sure we get to my last few slides. So once you create your survey and are ready to go with your Google Forms, like I mentioned before, a great thing to do is post it directly on social media platforms. And for small businesses, it's really easy to post it organically. To get a lot of survey responses, I would recommend finding specific groups on these platforms that already have a large that have a lot of people who are in your target demographic. So for instance, finding people on Facebook who are interested in golfing. There's all different types of groups on Facebook for people who have a hobby of golfing, and Nick would post his Case Cooley survey in that group in order to get responses. He talked previously about Reddit too. That's a great place to ask people for feedback. So feel free to choose the social media platforms that fit your business, find the groups within them that have a lot of people in your target demographic, and post that survey. But try to do that only after you've also engaged in that group. You want to show people that you are engaged in it by liking that page, commenting in the group, starting conversations with people, basically creating connections. And then once you post your survey, they're going to be more likely to want to help you because you're not just a random person who's coming in there asking them for something selfishly but not giving back to the community. That's a big part of social media, is trying to contribute to the larger community we have. And I will say that people are very interested in helping other people out and filling out their surveys. And if you are having trouble getting people to fill out those surveys, feel free to think about how to incentivize people to do that, but keep it small. Okay, I think we're all good, Michelle, for my slides. So if we wanted to, we had a few. Nick, I think they'll be able to email this PowerPoint out to the whole group. Is that right, Michelle? So we don't have to go through that? Okay, great. Okay.
PowerPoints, could you resave them as a PDF? Because I don't use Microsoft.
Okay.
So my Apple books.
Yeah, that makes sense that some people probably don't have
Yeah.
PowerPoint. Okay, that's fine.
And I think, Nick, you recorded it. Are you gonna make the whole lecture
Yeah, we can
available like we did before?
Sure.
Okay, so actually one thing we can do really quick to get people that this PowerPoint and also the video is if you guys want to try a cool thing, pull out your phone, and if you have Facebook, the Facebook Messenger app, just open that up. What we're going to have you do is go through this quick exercise, and this is going to allow us to send you everything through Facebook Messenger and show you kind of a cool feature that it has. Okay, so once you're in your Facebook Messenger, you'll see, it's kind of hard to see on this PowerPoint here, but there's your little profile down at the bottom of your Facebook Messenger app. So click on I believe it says Me down there. So just click on the Me at the very bottom right-hand corner. Now you'll be opening up a profile for you. It's going to say your name and you have your picture right there. Next, you're going to click on your actual picture on that app. And that's going to take you to a section over here where you'll see your code and then another option that says scan code. And once you have that open, if you hover your phone up and scan this code right here on the screen, that's going to automatically, yep. Oh, sure. Yeah. There we go. So that's a little bit bigger for you guys. Okay. And so now you can scan this code, and that's going to automatically connect you with our Facebook Messenger, which is going to allow us to share the video and also the slides with you through that. And then I believe Michelle's going to also be able to help you guys out if you can't take this step. But it's a really cool feature you can use also for your business to start conversations with people on Facebook Messenger, is to grab this code off of your Facebook Messenger app once you create your business profile and then allow people to connect with you on Facebook Messenger. Yeah.
Can you like it? I don't have my phone with me. Can you like it in
You can like our page, and then why don't you go ahead and just start a Messenger conversation with us, Connect Marketing, and we can also send you the same thing through that too.
Am I too far back?
Does it work for anybody?
Usually it has worked from back there, but if you're a little bit closer, yeah.
Well, feel free to.
Yeah, if you guys want to come up closer, feel free to. It's a cool feature, but yeah, last time we had them printed on sheets, and that may have worked a little bit better.
So I don't want to touch anything.
Hold the camera up.
There you go.
Oh,
Starting to work.
cool.
Yeah, there you go. So I guess you do need to be close up here to get it.
So now what I do?
And now you just accept the get started at the, yeah, there you go. Awesome. Okay.
Thank you.
Very cool. All right.
All right, so let's give
All right.
Vanessa and Nick a hand.
Thank you.
They're so informative with social media. Thank you